Thank you for tuning in to this video. There's a lot of people that have been emailing me that are interested in going offshore, and that is what this video is going to be addressing on things that could probably help you and accelerate the chance and intensify the chance of you getting employed in an industry and in a field that so many people would like to actually be employed in, but they suffer because they have a lack of knowledge and don't know really how to even pursue going offshore. And that's what this video is about. Many years ago, and because I'm almost 59 years old, in just a few, maybe about 13 more minutes, I believe, if the clock's right, I'll be 59 years old. And when I was in my early 20s, 30 years ago or more, I'd worked for 5 different major offshore oil companies through different contractors out of Golden Meadow and Venice, Louisiana. And I don't want to rehash a lot of material that I've already posted on previous videos, but I was blessed to learn the ins and outs of offshore work way back then and what's involved in it. And of course, since then, I've done a lot of research to make sure that all my information is up to date to help those that would like to further as part of their life's adventure in the field of earning a living for their family, or if they're single, just for themselves, to help them make it through life if they wish to go offshore. That's what this video is about. I had a zoology teacher when I was attending a junior college class come in the class one day, and he wrote on the board, "Knowledge is power." And you know, that has stuck with me through the years because he is so right. Knowledge is power. Let me give you an example of this. I had a nephew who was got out of the Marines here a couple years ago, right before I wrote this book, The Welders Offshore Guide, which just isn't only for welders, but if you want to go out and be a cook, a galley hand, or a helper, or whatever is your position you're seeking offshore, this book can help you as far as enlighten you with the knowledge to know what you need to know to pursue trying to get a job offshore in that given field that you wish to go in. But I hadn't wrote the book yet, and I didn't even know he was trying to go offshore after he was released from the Marines. And so he went to Morgan City, Louisiana, and when he did, he went to a hiring agency. They sent him down to a place, and he did get a job. But that cost him 2 weeks of his salary. And the place where he was hired on at, in Morgan City, Louisiana, they said, "Why didn't you just walk through our door? Why did you go through a hiring agency? We would have hired you if you would have just came through the door." And he looked at him and he said, "Because I didn't even know where to go. So I needed them to tell me." So just for that information, that cost him 2 weeks of salary. Well, I'm trying to prevent that from happening to any of you in the future if you wish to go offshore. Let me show you the power of information. You know, we need to know and be informed of certain things before we can even pursue certain things. And this is a true story. I went into Lowe's one time, and I was anticipating on going back to work in the workaday world. I'm self-employed quite a bit, but then there's once in a while I wish to go out in the workaday world and give it a hand again, and then retire after a while and work for myself. And it's a bit on again, off again thing at times when I choose for it to be that way. But anyway, and I'd much rather be in business for myself than work for anyone. I think most people would. But there's a lot of young people, and there are middle-aged and some elderly that really want to go offshore because they afford you a lot of hours and it's real good pay. But as I was going through the line, I had a welder's hat on like this, and the girl that was checking us out said, "You're a welder, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I said, "I bet you knew because of the hat." She said, "Yes." And she said, "Because I'm a welder." She said, "I was laid off and I'm working here." And she told me the company she used to work for, and she said, "They're a good company." She said, "Maybe you ought to apply." And they were a Fortune 500 company that employs 150,000 people. Well, you see, she gave me information. Now, I would not have been able to pursue going to work for that company had she not simply given me the information. Now, I had the choice of either acting upon that information or letting it lie dormant. And I've met those two types of people in the world. Some people will go after information and act upon it and prosper from it. And some people just let whatever you tell them that could help them out in life, financially or any other kind of way, they let it just go right over their head. And they miss out on a blessing. I used to attend a church in Alabama, and the preacher used to say this quite often. He used to say, don't wait for the blessing to come to you, but go after the blessing. My mother used to tell me at times you need to add legs to your prayers. You know, people could say, well, I'm praying for a job, I'm praying for this, I'm praying for that. And that's good, and you should. Because the Bible does say, and I know some of you don't want any type of theological intermixture with this, but I'm giving it to you anyway. In all thy ways, acknowledge the Lord, and He'll establish your paths. You know, God should be in every part of your life, whether it be the job you're seeking or the girl you're going to marry, if you're even wanting to marry. But that's not going to be the case with quite a few people. But for those of you out there who are Christians, you know that's what I'm telling you to be. And I had been praying about going to work out in the workaday world. I'd been self-employed for a while, and all of a sudden I'm going through the line, and this girl tells me about this place. Guess what? I went and applied, and I got the job. And it had every type of benefit you can offer, that company did. Medical insurance, long-term disability, short-term disability. They gave you annuity checks as they prospered. Every 4 months, they'd give every employee a check from the profits they made. I mean, it had a lot of benefit. But you see, I acted upon the information that person gave me. Knowledge is power. Privilege and affords opportunity. Well, that's what I'm about to tell you about here now. There's a lot of people that, oh, look, if I would have simply known about this did not exist, the Welders Offshore God. Of course, this is a God that helps people, not only if you want to go out as a welder, but a cook, a helper, a galley hand, roustabout, whatever you want to do offshore. This book here can help you. Okay, because it's got a lot of information, a lot of good information. I didn't have that when I started out over 30 years ago. I was just blessed that a welding inspector was attending the church that I attended, and I was just about ready to graduate from my second junior college in welding and fitting, and I wanted to go offshore, and just happened to be he had a job offshore. And he came out to the junior college, he tested me, he knew the right type of paperwork, certifications that I needed and everything, and we ended up working for Gulf Oil Company. When he would go out, I would come in. When I would go out, he would come in. And so, and we ended up working for other offshore oil companies together. It just all fell in place for me like that. But sometimes it's just not within the providence of God for it to work that way for everybody. Sometimes it's within the providence of God to just bring a book like this into being and to tell you everything that you need to know before you even try to go offshore. And things that you really need to know that you'll be convinced of if you'll just spend a few more minutes in finishing this video out. You'll be convinced that you need to know before you even go offshore. You know, just like my nephew, because he didn't know, he went through a job hiring agency. It costed him 2 weeks of his salary. But had he known, had a book like this been published to tell him where to go, who to see, who to talk to, the telephone number to call, he could have went to Morgan City, Louisiana. He never would have had to go through a job service. And you know, when you go through a job service, companies look upon you as someone they could push around and demean a little bit. You lose a little bit of their respect from the word go, because they look upon you as someone as a loser, that you're a person that cannot get a job on your own, that you've got to get help from other people as a job service, that you don't know how to go after the employment. That's why you had to have somebody do all that work for you. You had to have somebody pick up a phone for you and call and interview you and such. So, you know, you're off to a bad start to some degree, even when you first go through a job service. Some people are not computer literate. I don't say that demeaningly. There was a time in my life I didn't know how to use computers. I had to buy my first computer around 30 years ago, and I had to read books and look at videos and learn what I had to learn before I was able to go online and search the web for jobs and companies and such. Some people cannot afford a computer, and some people don't even have time to learn how to do all that. Some people don't want to exploit their lack of knowledge to others and try to go get a friend to go to the library with them. Then you got to wait in line for everybody else to get off the computer. Then you're only limited to a few minutes that you can use the library's computer to try to find a job. There's a way to bypass every bit of that. Everything you need to know that can help you go offshore, where you don't have to pay weeks of salaries to other people. It's simple. I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but it's the truth. It's the Welders Offshore Guide. I've gotten emails from people from all over about this who have ordered this, letting me know you were right about one thing. I would have been completely lost had not I purchased that guide. $22 investment. I'd like to give it away, and I have given some away to some that I knew could not, I was convinced of could not actually afford it. But because it's a 160-mile round-trip drive for me to even go to have these put in print, and it costs me money to print it, money to ship it and everything, I can't afford to give these away. Just like Forbes magazines, the richest people in the world, they can't afford to give millions of copies away. If they did afford themselves and could do it one time, they couldn't do it beyond that very much. I mean, even the most wealthy magazine companies cannot just give their stuff away. It costs them money. But anyway, oh my, I would have paid more than that over 30 years ago had I known that I could have assessed some material that possibly could have helped me go get a job that I would clear over $1,000 a week. And that was over 30 years ago. Let me tell you something. You were something to be the talk of the town over 30 years ago. If you could go anywhere without a college degree or a college education and clear over $1,000 a week over 30 years ago. And I was just one of the blessed few welders even back then, because many welders back then didn't even know what it took to go weld offshore, where they could get 84 hours a week, 44 hours a week overtime. Don't wait for the blessing to come to you. Go after the blessing, like the preacher in Alabama used to say. Let me give you an example. A guy in England ordered this book, okay, from me, and I used to sell it on eBay, and I don't sell on eBay no more. An address is going to be given on this video where you can just order it by sending me a postal money order or so for 22 bucks if you want this information to help you probably, or maybe, or help you know who to see to even apply to go offshore for work. This guy from England ordered the book, and guess what? Just the postage cost him $70. Just the postage was like 70 bucks. But you know what? Some would say, oh, I never buy any book. I wouldn't even pay the full price for that. But you know, that's $70 of postage. This was a person who had sense enough to know that what he didn't know would hurt him. And he was willing to act upon information if somebody could just give him the information, if he could find it from somewhere, to probably go get him a job that economically would change and alter the rest of his life. To think that he might be able to get a job making close to $3,000 a week and some levels of offshore work. So $70 even for the postage was nothing for him. He was glad to get that book. There's job service places that will order this book just to have the 70 companies with the phone numbers that I've listed that will help people that they can use with their clientele to help people get offshore. But of course, they're going to charge people a whole lot more than $22. You know, information that you act upon can change your life for the rest of your life. And it's that way even in the criminal world, even in the world of crime. How many a young teenage boy, those of you who have teenage girls and sons, have acted upon the advice of some bad kid down the street that they got involved with, that told them how they could make a quick buck or so, that had the element of criminality about it. They acted upon that information, and guess what? It changed their life. It sent them into the penitentiary to have to serve time. There's people online I've noticed that shows you how to use your color printer in your computer to scan dollar bills and make counterfeit money. Little do they know that the Secret Service is watching them and really hones in on those videos, and that their telephones are probably wiretapped and they're watched after that. And as soon as they slip a fake dollar bill into a Coke machine, they're going to get caught. And because they acted upon the information that involved criminality there, criminal intent and purpose to make that counterfeit money, they looked at those videos, they acted upon that information. That changed their life. It took them from a life of freedom and put them in the pen. Well, when it comes to the world of finance and economics, there are people that have been there and done that, and they can give you good information that can change the rest of your life. And that's what the Welders Offshore Guide was about. I got so tired when going on inland jobs from time to time when I'd leave offshore. I got so tired of welders when they'd find out that I worked offshore. They would come from different parts of the shop and factory and flood me and ask me all the questions that this volume now answers. 36 pages of information. If it only took you 2 minutes to read each page, within 2 hours, the rest of your life could be altered if you act upon some of this information and get employed offshore if that's what you want. It'll increase your salary 5 to 10 times. Some of you are working at McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with that, or Burger King. But to think you can go from that to making thousands a week if you get in the right positions that pay that much. Okay, so even acting upon information that involves criminality, like some are doing online, and they end up in the pen. You can act upon good information and financially exceed as a result of such. The reason why a lot of people never make it offshore is because they apply directly to offshore oil companies. They go to Chevron, Gulf, Marathon, and Pennzoil, and different companies, and they never get on. And you might say, well, how are you going to get offshore if you don't apply to the offshore oil companies? Because what a lot of people don't realize is that offshore oil companies, they mostly subcontract out their work. And this is where being in the know comes to your advantage. Let me see if I can hold it before the camera. This here is, I should put my fingers over my Social Security number. This here is a Chevron pipe welder's card. The date on the bottom, it was signed by Maxie King over 30 years ago when I went to work for Chevron Oil Company through a contractor out of Golden Meadow, Louisiana. And on it, it says, it tells my name, Chevron USA, number 101. They list their welders in a number log out there. Lafourche Division, this is a certified. It tells my name, Social Security number. Has been properly qualified as a structural and pressure piping welder in accordance with Chevron's safe practices and procedures for welding and burning. And it had the platform supervisor of that field, Maxie King, who's passed away now, sign it. Well, when you go offshore, you will get pass cards like that from time to time. But you are actually working for a subcontractor that has been on a job for the oil companies. The oil companies themselves hire very few people. They subcontract that work out. That way they don't have to worry about bookkeeping, a lot of lawsuits and medical insurance and all that. They don't have to worry about that. They do hire some employees that they require have special degrees and special training. Those jobs are super hard to get. But most of their work and most of the workers that will ever work for offshore oil companies are through different contractors. But so what companies should I apply to go offshore? That's what this tells you about. What should I bring offshore with me? This gives you that answer. What type of certification do I need if I go out as a welder? That's what the Offshore Welders Guide tells you about. And I wish there would have been such a guide in existence years ago before I went. But suppose I want to go out as a help, a cook, a galley hand, a roustabout. Where do I apply and what do I bring with me? The Offshore Welders Guide tells you all that. What type of welding certification do I need for offshore? This booklet tells you that. How do I get an AWS welding inspector to certify me? This book tells you that. How do I get an AWS? What type of paperwork will that AWS welding inspector have to sign for you to bring offshore with you? So you can get one of those cards like I just showed you if you're going out as a welder, given to you once you get out there. What type of paperwork do you have to exchange to get one of those cards? This tells you. Can I get a pipe welding certification without having to go into a junior college for a year or 2 years of training? This book gives you the answer to that, and you can. Can I get my own welding machine and practice at home? Yes, and what kind should I get and from where? This tells you that. How do I set up my own pipe test in my own garage? The bevel, the gap, the landing, the code, the rods to use. This booklet here tells you all that. There's no guessing games. But how much does an AWS welding inspector charge to test you? This tells you that. Can I test at a union hall welding school if not at home? Yes, because not everybody has a garage in their backyard. Not everybody can even afford the welding machine to buy a welding machine of their own and practice at home. What thickness of pipe should I purchase to test and prepare the test with? It gives you the answer to that. How do I make sure the inspector signs the right paperwork for me to take offshore with me? Well, I make sure that those who order this here, I've got the right paperwork for him to sign. When you're ready to test, after you read these 36 pages, you just get in touch with me again, and I can make sure you've got the right paperwork for him to sign. What should I not take offshore with me that could get me in trouble? This tells you about that. The Offshore Welders Guide. Where do I park my car, my truck while I'm offshore? What about drug testing, physicals, and TWIC card? Where do I apply for the TWIC card? Well, I need an OSHA 10 card and a Hewitt card, which is Helicopter Underwater Employee Training Card. Where do I get such from? How much clothes should I bring? The Welders Offshore Guide answers all that. Can I have my prescription medicine offshore? My insulin? Can I have or how should I dress after working hours when I'm watching TV in the galley room after I've ate supper that night and after I've taken a shower? What tools for fitting should I bring if I'm a welder? What ordinate booklets should I have with me if I go out as a welder? Because I will have to do some fitting. What templates should I bring? I give you the 2 free templates that you will need for offshore. What offshore companies should I apply to? This book tells you that. No running to the library if you don't have a computer. No exploiting your lack of knowledge or lack of computer knowledge to friends that you don't want to know that, because here you've got 70 companies listed with their phone numbers. Let me just give you a few. Let's say you want to go offshore, but you don't know the first place. You don't know who sends people offshore. You just open this up. Danis and Curall, Weeks Marine Incorporated, J. Ray McDermott, Chase Welding Services, Rainbow Marine Contractors, Bollinger Fouchon Incorporated, GIS Oilfield Contractors, Allison Marine Contractors, Rowan Drilling Company. Now I realize some of you are going to slow the video down and bring it to a stop, and you're going to write each one of those companies down. And that's okay. You've been given 9 companies free. You'll have to look up their phone number. But you still need all that other information. All those other questions that I asked, you still need all that information also. So if any of you would like to act upon knowledge, knowledge is power. My nephew had to pay 2 weeks' salary. This book didn't exist then. I didn't even know. I could have told him a lot of things that could have saved him that money. And he could have went offshore without having to give up 2 weeks of salary. But if you want to know where to go, when to go, how to go, what to bring, what not to bring, what to say, what not to say, what to do, when to do, how to do it, and what to seek, and how to prepare, and what you need before you go. There may be some other booklets out there. I don't know of any other. As far as I know, this is the only one. And I don't sell it on eBay anymore. So if you'd like this, just order this from me. My name is Joseph Kingston, Kingston. And if you would send your money orders for $22, it's a $22 investment. Now, I'm not even going to make $22 off this booklet. I promise you, I am not making $22. I have to drive a 160-mile round trip. I cannot print them up by the thousands. I have to have a few printed up as the orders come in. And then I have to pay for postage. And I have to pay the cost of printing. They print it, they fold it, they staple it for me. And then I have hand cut the templates out by hand out of poster board so that when you get out there, if you go out as a welder, you don't have to guess with your fitting. When you're doing those pipe rails, and if you don't know how to do pipe rails, there'll be other welders out there that they'll put you with to show you how to do it. But you'll have a leading edge on them with the templates alone that are free that come with this book. But if you'd like to order it, my name is Joseph Kingston, 205 South 4th, and don't write the word 4th. Write it out as the numeral 4 with TH after it. It's 205 South 4th Street, Lumberton, Mississippi, 39455. Now, as soon as I get your money order, I'll ship this out with the free templates to you. And I like for people to email me back once they get offshore. And I promise those that order this book that if they will email me back and tell me about the job they got and how they like it, that I will send them some additional templates for pipe free. I'll send them some free templates. And of course, if you need other templates throughout your career offshore, it tells in here how you can get those templates and where you can order additional templates from. But anyway, whether you're wanting to go out as a welder offshore or galley hand cook, a helper, or whatever, you need to know who to apply to. You don't need to beat the streets. You don't need to get out the yellow pages. You don't need to inquire of people who's been out there. In the privacy of your home, you don't need a computer. You don't need to run down to the library. You don't need to go to a job service. It sounds like a sales pitch, but everything I'm telling you is the truth if you've got this guy. Now, can I or anyone promise anybody a job? Absolutely not. Nobody can do that because you do have a physical that you have to go through. And they have to screen you and they give you a drug test. And I don't know whether you can pass a drug test or not. Only you know that. So nobody, regardless whether you order a publication or don't order a publication, nobody can guarantee you employment. But I can guarantee you that you'll be 70 places smarter of where to call to seek employment if you order this book. You'll have the templates that you need if you're a welder and everything you need to know about the test, the paperwork you need, the certification you need, how to get that certification, the B31.3 certification on 6G pipe, how to prepare for that, how to get it without having to go back to school and such. All that's in here for you. Well, if all that, I'm thankful I graduated from Pearl River Junior College and also Jeff Davis Junior College in welding and fitting. And I'm thankful for my education and Stennisfield education also. I'm thankful that I had extensive training with welding, but had there been a book like this when I was a young person in my early 20s or in my teens, I don't think I would have spent a few years going to college. I would have simply ordered a book like this for $20. Well, just the gas. My dad used to give me gas to go back and forth to school each day, and I had to travel to another city 5 days a week just to go to college. Well, 2 or 3 days worth of gas, if that much, will exceed $22 of just going to school for 3 days. And a lot of these junior colleges, although they don't have to do it this way, they do. They drag the education out over a year or more, and pipe is the last thing they put you on, and because they want you to spend money going to their school. It seems like pipe is the last thing they'll put you on. They'll tell you that's the hardest to weld, which for some it is. But actually, they could reverse it if they want. They could start you out on pipe. And some people in 6 weeks would actually be able to be certified on welding pipe, and then they'd be able to go where the big money's made. Right here on the Gulf Coast, there's pipe welding jobs that pay $39 an hour, and that's working inland. That's $390 a day for a 10-hour shift, and that's working for somebody else, not having to supply any of your own equipment. So you see, welders make good money if they're pipe welders. Well, any welder makes pretty good money, but the real high-paid elite welders are the pipe welders. And if you want to go where you're going to get guaranteed 84 hours a week usually when you go offshore, that means 44 hours a week overtime. And I used to work offshore for Arrow contractors out of Venice over 30 years ago, and they would send me out to Marathon Oil Company on their platforms, and I would get 126 hours a week. That is 18 hours a day. Can you imagine the overtime and how big those checks were? And that was over 30 years ago. Man, when you'd come in from offshore and your buddies found out you cleared over 1,000 or over 1,500 a week just for 1 week's work, and there they are struggling, going to school. Look, a lot of them knew they wouldn't make that much even with a bachelor's or a master's degree in accounting or whatever, going through college, unless they were just one of the few lucky ones to land one of those rare jobs. And boy, how they even have to compete to get work, even after they get out of college. I know a school teacher now with a degree, and she's having a time just getting a job. And even though she's worked for a year, there was a layoff, and but in the field of welding, they're needing them so bad right now on the Gulf Coast. In fact, I seen an advertisement, and I wish I had it here with me. It was one of those little newspapers that you see that they give away free outside restaurants. And they said that if you even have a desire to weld, you don't even have to know how. If you have a desire to weld, this place will hire you, and they will teach you how to weld. You will learn and be paid while you're learning. So you see, that's how much the demand for welders are. If you want to quit one job and go to another and move to another city because you want to move to another city, oh, you don't have to worry about that if you're a welder. It's like being a nurse. You can go anywhere in the United States, and there'll always be jobs there if you've got the health and skill ability to pass the test. But offshore, in fact, there's offshore welders that with everything that hate can hate with, they hate it that I put this in black and white for other welders to know about, because they've been keeping that cash cow for themselves for years, and they don't want other welders to know how to get out there and what hoops to jump through, and the gamut of activity they have to proceed and accomplish to get offshore. Because then that does, after a while, you take, if 20,000 of these books get out there, that's 20,000 more people and welders. And boy, if I was a welding student in a school and was hoping on graduate within the year, I'd really want one of these, because that would really give me the leading edge over people who's been welders for 20 and 30 years that's never been able to make it offshore because they didn't have the proper information to know how to go offshore. And there you are just getting out of school, and you're going to know what they haven't learned all their life because they didn't want to make a $22 investment. You know, to think that a lot of people who, you know, don't wait for the blessing to come to you, but go after the blessing. A lot of people will sit back and daydream about making good money, welders and non-welders. They'll sit back day after day and daydream. And then when you offer the opportunity and tell them that there is information that they can go after that could change the rest of their life, they'd rather spend that $22 at the local bar, at the local pub, or go buy them a carton of cigarettes. And oh my, think just a one-time $20 investment. No, I'm not getting your whole $22, but I mean, it is worth something. I've got to make a few dollars to be able to make that 160-mile round trip. Because if some of you don't know, Lumberton, Mississippi, we're in the boondocks like, and so I have to travel to another city to have these books put in print. So anyway, folks, and to think, it took you 2 minutes to read each page of 36 pages. That's a little over an hour that could change your life. Whenever you wanted to apply for offshore, you don't go online. You don't have to with this. You just reach and grab this off the shelf, and you turn to the page in here where I have those 70 companies listed. When you want, if you don't have a TWIC card, it tells you the phone number to call for the TWIC card. There are some companies that might want you to have a Hewitt card, but those companies will probably train you themselves to give you the Hewitt card because they know that not many people are going to leave home and go to another city to try to get that training. But anyway, simple things. Don't never bring a suitcase offshore. If you want to look like Minnie Pearl when you get off of that tugboat and you mount that offshore platform, just have a suitcase. They're going to say, oh boy, they're going to say that's his first time offshore. No, you want a good rubber lined canvas outwardly with a lock on top duffel bag. You want a couple of them. Bring it because on your way out there, you're going to be on a tugboat or sometimes on a helicopter. But when you don't go on a helicopter, you're going on a tugboat, and your tools and stuff are going out there on that tugboat with you if they don't ship you out by helicopter. And guess what? That boat's going to be going up and down in the waves. You're going to be locked in the cabin. Your bags are going to be out there on that deck, strapped down. and all the water coming over is going to soak inside that suitcase. No, you want a canvas duffel bag that's rubber lined, and you want it sealed at the top. You want and everything in it, it's best to even put in a plastic garbage bag and tie it before you even put it in a duffel bag. Just knowing things like that. I mean, you don't want to go offshore and look like Minnie Pearl with a hat that's got and I love Minnie Pearl, but that's got the price tag hanging from it. You go out there with a smile on your face. You got them old big luggage bags. They're going to look at you, and those boys are going to say, well, there is Monday's moron and July's Joe. They're going to think there's a country bumpkin here that we're going to be able to take advantage of. Oh, we're going to have fun with him. No, my friend, you want to look seasoned for the work when you go out there. You want to look seasoned, even though you've never been out there. Just to know that. You know, I am so glad that that guy went to church where I went to church with. He came to the college. I went to a scrap yard. I bought the pipe. I prepared it. I set it up at the college. I tested for him. They put the bin test on it. I got my paperwork. Went offshore. It don't fall in place for everyone like that. That's why you need to either meet somebody like me, or I needed to meet somebody like him, or you really need to find somebody that has actually put all that information in a publication called the Welders Offshore Guide. And so I know all that sounds like a sales pitch, but I promise you, young people have emailed me back, and the thing that rings more and more to me than anything else that they reverberate in their emails to me is this. You were right about one thing. Had not, and I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but it's just the truth. Had not I read that book before going out there, I would have been completely lost. I would have been completely lost. It's like my nephew. This book wasn't in existence. I didn't even know. He just got out of the Marines. He had to give up 2 weeks' salary. He went to Morgan City. They found him a job, but even the place when he arrived said, why didn't you just come here? You didn't have to go through a job search. He said, I didn't know. See, my friend, even in the workaday world, you suffer from what you don't know. You've heard that old adage, which you don't know can't hurt you. To some degree, in some instances, and whatever it's applied to, in some segments of life, that is true. But when it comes to knowing where to go, when to apply, when to apply, what to know, what not to know, what to have and what not to have, you better know before you go. Before you try to climb Mount Everest, you better read a book by some people that's been to Mount Everest before you to know what supplies to bring, what type of line jackets to wear. It could kill you if you go there unprepared. Don't go unprepared. There is a way that you can go, and you don't have to stress and struggle and call job services. You've got 70 places ready that you can call. They'll tell you where to show up in Golden Meadow or Venice or Morgan City or wherever you are going out of. They'll tell you what you need to bring with you, and some of them will let you apply online, and they'll some of them might even send you to, if you're a welder, they might send you to a local testing agency, but they do require the people who send you off for welding, they want you to have your B31.3 certification papers before you even apply to them. Because unless you can prove to them absolutely that you can pass that test, they know that if you fail it, you've costed them hundreds of dollars, and they're still without a welder. That's why they like for the welder to take that initiative, because they know that even though it might cost you a couple $100s to have a welding inspector, come test you, that's nothing compared to the money you're going to make offshore. $22, some of you say. Now, I know $22 is a lot if you don't have it. I know. And I'm not saying this because I want any pats on the back. I've given this book away to some, but these people labored extensively to convince me. And please don't flood me with emails. I mean, I went back and forth with one poor fella, and it got to 7 or 8 to 10 pages. He just was telling me he could not afford even the $22. Man, I sent him the book. I sent him the templates. There's been people I've done that for. I've given the book away to some. But I just can't continue to do that, folks. I'd like to do it all welders. But for those of you who are really wanting to change, this might be it. This might be it. But no one, once again, can guarantee anyone another job. But without the knowledge of knowing where to go and who to see, who to call up, how to apply, how to be prepared, and especially if you're a welding student in a welding school and you're looking at this video, you should bring this wrote down on my YouTube channel and put it on the bulletin board in your welding class. Every one of them need a booklet like this if they want to start off their welding career making big bucks and not end up on an assembly line welding shovels together making $8.50 an hour. Because don't kill your talent like that, starting out like that. No, be a pipe welder. Be a certified pipe welder. Go offshore where they afford you the hours. These indoor industries, and a lot of mom and pop industries, they're not going to give you over 40 hours. And oh, ma, if you got hurt on their jobs and such, oh, and some of them don't even, some of them, in fact, there was a place in Scottsboro, Alabama. They hired a guy as a machinist. They didn't even carry workman's comp insurance. That guy had his finger pulled off by a lathe. They had to close shop, file bankruptcy, and that guy don't have no medical coverage or anything. He didn't even have the workman's comp there to cover him. So there's places that don't get caught in any snares like that. If you want to go where the money's at, and look, I don't care how bad the economy gets. I don't care if Macy's closes down tomorrow. I don't care if 300,000 people get laid off tomorrow. Offshore is always going to be rocking and rolling. They farm for the liquid black gold that's down in the bowels of the earth, and they need workers out there that are able to help them get it up. They need cooks, they need galley hands, they need helpers. So if you'd like to, and I know that job services, I'm sure, have already ordered this from me because that gave them 70 extra places that they were able to call and try to make a deal with that if they send people their way, can they get a little commission for it. Oh no, my friend, don't be taken like that. A $22 investment, I wish it had existed when I started off years ago. I probably never would have went to college. I would have just went ahead and took the advice that was in this book, and I would have had a welding inspector come by and test me after I was ready to set up my test. I would have got my paperwork and went offshore, and I would have been good to go, and all would have been history. But anyway, folks, I hope this will be a blessing to you. If you'd like to order it, I'll try to put it up there on the screen. And if I move anytime soon, I'll change the address on the screen where I'm moving to, where you can order it from me. But it's the Welders Offshore Guide, 205 South 4th Street, Lumberton, Mississippi, 39455. And I thank you so much. And I know that this will be a blessing to so many people that's seeking and desiring to go offshore. God bless you.